Have you ever stood somewhere so quiet that you could hear your own heartbeat, only to realize you weren't alone? I have, and I'll never forget that feeling. The hairs on my neck standing up, my breath catching in my throat, and that voice in my head screaming, "Get out. Now!" But here's the question that still haunts me to this day. If a mountain is just rock and trees and wind, then why do so many people who go there come back different? What if I told you that Taiwan has one such mountain, a place where the locals refuse to go after dark, where hikers vanish without a trace, and where the stories are so chilling that even the bravest explorers think twice? Stick with me, because what I'm about to share isn't just campfire talk. These are real accounts, real fears, and real places that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the supernatural. Let's be real for a second. You've probably heard ghost stories before. Maybe you've even laughed them off. Told yourself, it's just folklore, just superstition, just people's imagination running wild. But deep down, if you're being honest, there's a part of you that wonders. That part that gets uneasy when the forest goes silent. That part that feels a chill when the fog rolls in unexpectedly. That part that quickens your step when you're walking alone at night. And now imagine that feeling, magnified 100 times, on a mountain in Taiwan that has become the stuff of legends. This isn't just one story. This is dozens of them, overlapping, confirming, warning. Hikers who entered the trail with confidence and emerged with wide, empty eyes, unable to speak for days. Experienced climbers who got lost on paths they'd walked 100 times before, as if the mountain itself had rearranged the trees just to confuse them. And then there are the sounds. Footsteps behind you when you're alone. Whispers in a language you don't recognize, but somehow understand. And sometimes your own name being called from deep within the mist. The worst part, you don't know if it's your mind playing tricks on you, or if something out there wants you to hear. Alright, here's something that doesn't make logical sense. Multiple hikers have reported walking the same marked trail, only to find that the path changes. Not gradually, not subtly, but in ways that defy explanation. One local guide told me about a group of university students who decided to hike the mountain for a weekend trip. They were experienced. They had maps. They had GPS. And yet, 3 hours into their hike, they realized they were walking in circles. Not because they were lost, but because the trail markers they had passed earlier were now pointing in the opposite direction. They followed them again. And again. Each time the path led them back to the same clearing, where a single weathered shrine sat untouched, covered in moss and old incense sticks. They spent the night there, not by choice, because the sun went down and suddenly, every path they took seemed to lead nowhere. By morning, they found the main road again, but one of them never spoke about the trip again. And when asked what he saw that night, he just shook his head and walked. A friend of a friend, let's call him Chun, was an avid climber. He'd conquered peaks in Japan, Nepal, and the Philippines. He didn't believe in ghosts. But on this mountain, he told me he experienced something he still can't explain. He was following a ridge he'd studied on satellite images. The terrain matched. The weather was clear, and yet, after walking for 40 minutes, he found himself standing exactly where he'd started, with his own footprints circling the same mossy rock. He checked his compass. It was spinning, not erratically, but slowly, like it was being turned by invisible fingers. Chun left that mountain the same day. He's never gone back, and he's never told this story publicly. Until I asked him. Now this one gets under my skin every single time. Locals say that after 6 p.m., the mountain changes. The birds stop singing, the insects go quiet, and then, just as the last light fades, you start to hear it. At first, it sounds like wind rustling through bamboo, but then it shapes itself into syllables, into words, into sentences that seem directed at you. Some hikers have reported hearing a woman crying, but when they followed the sound, there was nothing there. Others have heard children laughing from deep within the forest, even though no children were on the trail that day. And then there's the most disturbing one. Several climbers have heard their own names being called, in their own voice. Imagine that. You're walking alone, the fog is thickening, and suddenly you hear yourself say your name from 100 meters away. Same tone, same cadence, as if the mountain is mimicking you. A solo hiker named Wei documented his experience on a blog post that went viral before he deleted it a week later. He wrote that he was approaching the summit when the wind shifted. Everything went still, and then, from behind a cluster of cypress trees, he heard a voice say, "Wei, don't go further." It was his own voice. He froze. His heart was pounding so loud he could barely think. He turned around, and there, in the distance, he swore he saw a silhouette standing motionless, watching him. He ran. When he got back to the trailhead, he checked his camera. The footage from that moment was corrupted, except for one frame, a blur of white and gray that looked almost human-shaped. He never posted again, and he never returned to that mountain. At the heart of the mountain, at a junction where 3 trails meet, there stands a small, crumbling shrine. Locals leave offerings there: fruit, rice wine, and folded paper money. They say it's to appease the spirits of those who died on the mountain. But hikers who are unaware, who don't know the rules, sometimes make a fatal mistake. They take something: a piece of fruit, a coin, a small charm left behind by someone else. And according to legend, once you accept an offering from that shrine, you're no longer just a visitor. You become invited to stay, invited to wander, invited to become part of the mountain's story, whether you want to or not. A rescue team member told me about a case from 2018. A young man had gone hiking alone. He was found 3 days later, wandering in a daze barefoot, with no memory of how he got there. When they checked his belongings, they found a single red ribbon in his pocket, the kind locals tie around offerings at the shrine. He couldn't explain how he got it. He couldn't even remember seeing the shrine. But he kept repeating one thing over and over. They said I could stay. They said I belonged now. To this day, his family says he's never been the same. He sleeps with the lights on. He refuses to talk about the mountain. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, his wife says she catches him whispering to someone who isn't there. So here's what I want you to remember. Taiwan's Mountain of Terror isn't just a collection of scary stories. It's a warning. A reminder that some places are not meant to be conquered, only respected. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain. When you walk into that forest, you're stepping into a space that holds memories, sorrows, and secrets older than any of us. And the mountain? It doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive. If this story sent a shiver down your spine, if you felt that prickle of unease, that curiosity mixed with dread, then please do me one small favor. Not because I want to scare you again, but because these stories need to be told. They deserve to be heard. And if you're the kind of person who wants to explore the unknown, not with arrogance but with respect, then you belong here. Subscribe and you'll get more real stories, more deep dives, and more legends from places you've never dared to go. Share this video with someone who loves a good ghost story. And let me know in the comments, would you hike this mountain? Or would you turn back? Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and whatever you do, if you hear your name in the fog, don't answer. I'll see you in the next one.